Tonight, another tool in the fight against the coronavirus. The Oxford vaccine is approved. 100 million doses are on order, a game changer according to experts, ready for rollout next week.
So those standards have been met, and it has been a thoroughly robust process on safety, on quality and on effectiveness.
Hope on a day when the number of reported deaths from COVID jumps to 981. Also tonight, with COVID infections rising sharply, another 20 million people in England will wake up tomorrow in Tier 4. And now schools are affected. The majority of secondary pupils in England will not return to their classrooms till mid-January. Boris Johnson's signature on the Brexit trade deal. MPs give their overwhelming support for it. A new relationship, he says.
This is not the end of Britain as a European country, because there'll be people watching this who worry that it is. That is emphatically not the case.
Good evening. The UK medicines regulator has approved the Oxford AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine. Along with the Pfizer vaccine that's already been given the green light, it paves the way for millions more people to be immunised in the new year. The UK government has ordered 100 million doses. That's enough to vaccinate 50 million people. The Oxford vaccine is much easier to transport and store than the Pfizer-BioNTech one already in use. It can be kept in a standard fridge and is also much cheaper at less than £3 a dose. The approval of the vaccine comes as the number of deaths from the coronavirus reported in the last 24 hours approached 1,000. Our medical editor, Fergus Walsh, has the details.
The approval of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, which is a fantastic achievement for British science.
It's a great day. We're very proud.
This is a really significant moment in the fight against this pandemic.
It is, I think, a game-changing moment.
This is the vaccine, more than any other, that will eventually bring coronavirus under control. Unlike Pfizer's, which needs ultra-low temperatures, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine can be transported in a fridge, meaning every care home in the UK should now be in reach. The medicines regulator said no corners had been cut.
With this approval of the second vaccine, we are another step closer in helping to defeat this virus. Our clear message is that you can have every confidence in the safety, in the effectiveness and in the quality of COVID-19 vaccine AstraZeneca.
The vaccine uses a gene from the spike-shaped protein on the surface of coronavirus. This is put inside a modified harmless virus. The vaccine instructs human cells to make the spike protein, which prompts the immune system to create antibodies, which can recognize and destroy coronavirus. And it stimulates T cells, which should destroy cells that have become infected. So just how effective is the vaccine? The latest estimate is it gives 70% protection against COVID 3 weeks after the first dose. The NHS will now hold back giving the second dose of all COVID vaccines until 12 weeks, so more people can get protected.
The most pragmatic thing to do is to give as many at-risk people as possible the first dose of the vaccine, because we know that from 3 weeks after that first dose, there's a very good level of protection, and nobody in the clinical trials at that point after their first dose was in hospital with COVID or experienced severe disease.
This is now a race between the vaccine and the virus. That means getting millions of doses approved quickly.
We're going to ship 500 or a bit more than 500,000 doses this week to start being used on Monday. And then from there, we will rapidly escalate the deliveries. So I really think by the end of March, we will be in a very different place.
What many want to know is, when will they get immunised? Prime Minister, how many people will the NHS immunise every week? Because surely it needs to be in the millions.
The best answer I can give at the moment is that we will have millions of doses, tens of millions of doses by the end of March. We're working to get the programme going as fast as we can. I don't want to give you specific numbers at the moment.
Much of the production is done in the UK, like here in Oxford, unlike the more expensive Pfizer jab, which is produced in Belgium. There are manufacturing facilities like this all over the world which are producing bulk quantities of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. The aim is to have 3 billion doses of the vaccine by the end of 2021. To deliver a safe and effective COVID vaccine in less than a year is a stunning achievement. The challenge now to ensure rapid rollout to those who need it most.
And Fergus is with me now. Fergus, we now have 2 vaccines at our disposal. How significant an achievement is that?
I think it's hugely important and positive news, George. I mean, this vaccine can be used anywhere that has a fridge. It's as simple as that. And that's going to make it vital in controlling the pandemic here in towns and villages, but also across the world. Oxford always wanted to produce a global vaccine, and AstraZeneca has promised in perpetuity to provide this vaccine at cost to low and middle income countries. And it's only if we protect the world's population that this pandemic will truly be over. There are lots of different numbers flying around about how effective this vaccine is, but I think the key message is that even one dose should protect people from severe COVID infection and prevent them needing to go into hospital, which will be vitally important at the moment.
When do you think we'll see a difference in our daily lives?
Well, every person who is immunised is another small victory against the virus, but it's not going to make a major impact for months. There are around 25 million people in the priority groups. That includes over 65s, frontline healthcare workers, people with underlying conditions. Now, we need to immunise 2 million of those a week, every week until Easter, to make a real impact there. And that would just be 1 dose each, so a huge task.
All right, Fergus, thanks very much. Thank you. For more on the story of how the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine was developed and the scientists behind it, you can watch Panorama, The Race for a Vaccine, which is now on iPlayer. Another 20 million people in England will be placed under Tier 4 restrictions and asked to stay at home from midnight tonight. The Health Secretary Matt Hancock said the move was absolutely necessary because the new variant of coronavirus was fueling a surge in cases. Areas entering Tier 4 include Birmingham, Nottingham, Leicester, the North East and Greater Manchester. 3/4 of the English population will be under the toughest measures from tomorrow. Dozens of areas will also now enter Tier 3, including Liverpool, Shropshire, Devon and Cornwall. So no part of the country will be in Tier 2. That leaves the Scilly Isles, which stay in Tier 1. Our health correspondent Dominic Hughes reports.
In Birmingham, just time for a last trim before Tier 4 restrictions come in at midnight. After a tough year, it's another bitter setback for owner Dale Sampey.
Absolutely devastated again that we've just got going after reopening on the 2nd of December. We're just getting back on our feet again. How many more times can we be locked down? And the bills keep rolling, and it's really difficult to keep coming back.
In England, more than 3/4 of the population will be in Tier 4, the highest level of restrictions. Health Secretary Matt Hancock told MPs the new, more contagious COVID variant was driving infections up.
Unfortunately, this new variant is now spreading across most of England and cases are doubling fast. It is therefore necessary to apply Tier 4 measures to a wider area, including the remaining parts of the South East, as well as large parts of the Midlands, the North West, the North East and the South West.
This is a global crisis, but let us be clear, this is a national emergency. Our National Health Service is becoming overwhelmed. I hope the Tier 4 restrictions are enough, but many believe even tougher restrictions are now inevitable.
But public health experts warn that restrictions and lockdowns can only do so much.
The effect of any escalation in tiers lasts for maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then wears off. So it is doubly important that regardless of which tiers we go in, we continue to come forward for vaccines and take the tests, and more importantly, maintain that social distancing and hand washing and 2-metre rules.
Rising case numbers are hitting the health service, already buckling under pressure in the south and east Infections are now growing in the north and west. Burnley has already been hit hard by the pandemic this year, but has again seen a rapid growth in cases. And it's not just businesses that will be affected by the new restrictions. The local hospice depends on the £650,000 raised each year by its charity shops.
It has been a huge hit for us this year. We've been full throughout the whole of the pandemic. Our hospice at home services are also caring for more patients in the community. To then close our shops is a real sort of kick to us.
Parts of England that have seen relatively low case numbers in recent months, like Taunton in Somerset, now find themselves in Tier 4. It's clear we're heading into the new year in the middle of a second wave that is yet to show any signs of subsiding. It's a place no one wanted to be. Dominic Hughes, BBC News.
Let's take a look at the latest government figures. There were 50,023 new infections recorded in the latest 24 hours. The average number of new cases reported per day in the last week is now 40,477, and 981 deaths were reported. That's people who died within 28 days of a positive COVID-19 test. It means, on average, in the past week, 500 deaths were announced every day. It takes the total number of deaths so far across the UK to 72,548. Well, our health editor Hugh Pym joins me now. Hugh, we have this news about the new vaccine, but those figures I've just read out, I mean, they show what a dire situation we're in.
Yes, George, that daily reported death figure of nearly 1,000 is the highest since April and does make grim reading. It will include some that weren't reported over Christmas because of the holiday period. But these, of course, relate back to infections picked up several weeks ago. Since then, cases have carried on rising and hospitals are very busy in some parts of the UK. So let's look at a chart that shows the total number of patients with COVID in UK hospitals. And you can see the previous peak back in April was 21,000. The number fell considerably, then really picked up in recent weeks, and it's now gone above that previous peak at more than 21,700. A couple of examples we've seen on the front line of the NHS today of the pressure. In Essex, health and social care leaders have declared a major incident and asked for help from a local military base for army medics and nurses to come and help run community hospitals. London hospitals have reached out to their counterparts in Yorkshire, asking for help maybe to take patients if things get really busy in London. That hasn't been activated yet, but it shows there are real concerns about the weeks ahead.
Hughes, thank you very much. The surge in cases has had a knock-on effect for most secondary school pupils in England. They'll stay at home for an extra 2 weeks. The Education Secretary said exam year students would go back first on the 11th of January and should be prioritised for remote learning until then. Some primaries in parts of the southeast with the highest infection rates will also remain temporarily closed. Here's our education correspondent, Elaine Dunkley.
When will the Christmas holidays end and the school term start? A more infectious variant of coronavirus is causing chaos with timetables. Today, the government announced that most primary schools will open as usual, but there will be delays for secondaries. Pupils in exam years will return on the 11th of January. All other year groups will go back the following week.
With schools, our best line of attack is to keep them open using mass testing tools that we now have available so that we can ensure that children are able to continue to gain the benefit of a world-class education.
It's been a tough year in teaching. The coronavirus pandemic has put pressure on heads across the UK.
We've got a challenge in reintegrating students back into school, into routines.
It's about 75% of my time is now focused just on COVID.
7 asymptomatic kids this week.
Every day is a COVID day at the school at the moment.
The changes to the start of term have been welcomed by head teachers, but there is also frustration.
Of course we want young people in school, of course that's what we all do the job for, but safety has to come first and the figures are terrifying at the moment.
Last term was difficult. This term, schools will also have to prepare for mass testing, and it won't be the end of remote learning. Some students and teachers will still have to self-isolate. There's growing concern around vulnerable children, and for those sitting exams, there's increasing anxiety.
At my college, at the start of the year, we did 1 week in school, 1 week out of school, and it's just really confusing. Like, you never really know where you're at. It's a bit unfair, to be honest, because we have had our education disrupted.
Schools are on standby for more disruption and delay. In Northern Ireland, children are due to start school next week, but that's under review. In Wales, they could be back by the 11th, and in Scotland, schools won't return until the middle of January. For millions of children, it's back to home learning. Elaine Dunkley, BBC News.
4.5 years on from the referendum, MPs have given their overwhelming backing to the Brexit trade deal that was finalised last week. Labour backed it, arguing that a thin deal, as Keir Starmer described it, was better than no deal. Boris Johnson said the moment marked a new relationship with the EU. Speaking to our political editor Laura Koonsberg, the Prime Minister refused to acknowledge that new barriers to doing business with the EU will come into force in less than 48 hours, admitting only that there will be changes.
Signing on the dotted line over there, then a short hop for the 1,246-page document, the cargo of an RAF plane to get back here, ready for Boris Johnson's signature.
Here it is, folks, this is it.
The man who campaigned for Brexit became Prime Minister because of it, and now his deal, this day, scrolled into history.
What this deal does is it satisfies the request of the British people to take back control. And what that meant was that we now have the freedom to do things differently and do things better if we choose. In the knowledge that there are no barriers to those businesses.
Prime Minister,
on
that's
the
just factually not the case. It's not true that there will not be more barriers. Now, you've got more political control, but you can't sit there and say that there won't be extra friction.
There will be changes, and we've been very clear with people that they have to get ready for January the 1st, so things will work differently. And at the same time, we can not only exploit the advantages of a zero tariff, zero quota deal with the EU. People said that that was impossible, and they said that that was having your cake and eating it. So I want you to see this is a cakeist treaty.
So you are having your cake and eating it?
You said it.
But there will be new barriers, because if you don't admit that honestly now, aren't people going to be pretty peeved when they find out?
All we're doing is, I think, solving what everybody said was a kind of impossible, contradiction in terms.
The political screaming and shouting of the last few years only echoes in Parliament's halls now. The Prime Minister had his day.
Prime Minister!
Perhaps Brexit's opponents have only reluctance left.
It's the only deal that we have. It is a basis to build on in the years to come. And ultimately, voting to implement this treaty is the only way to ensure that we avoid no deal.
An awkward moment for Labour, but only one MP voted against, and a sprinkling of Labour MPs quit the front bench to join others abstaining.
I have the greatest respect for the result of the 2016 referendum, but this shoddy deal falls short.
Only the smaller parties raging and officially voting against, even though no deal was their worst case scenario.
We now finally know what Brexit means. We have it in black and white. It means the disaster of a deal. It means broken promises. It means economic vandalism.
But not a single Tory MP voted against the deal. Remember, Europe ended the careers of several of the Prime Ministers whose portraits line this famous staircase.
Do you believe that you have ended the Conservative Party's agony over Europe?
Well, I'm very hopeful that that is the case. This is not the end of Britain as a European country, because there'll be people watching this who worry that it is. That is emphatically not the case.
With the overwhelming backing of the Commons, after years it is the end of one profound relationship, and outwardly at least, the calm start of another. But in the time to come, our relationship with the rest of Europe may be no less complicated underneath. Laura Koonsberg, BBC News, Westminster.
In the past few minutes, the Queen's New Year's honours have been announced. The Formula One world champion Lewis Hamilton gets a knighthood and the actress Sheila Hancock is made a dame. Many of the honours have gone to members of the public for their work and contributions during the pandemic. Our entertainment correspondent Lisa Mazimba has more.
The man from Stevenage becomes the most successful Formula One driver of all time.
He's already won a record-equalling 7th World Championship and the title of Sports Personality of the Year.
Lewis Hamilton.
Where he gave fans a message of positivity.
Please, everyone out there, go out and follow your dreams. To all the kids, please never give up on yourself.
And now, Lewis Hamilton has finished his incredible year with a knighthood. Sheila Hancock says she feels a real sense of responsibility after being made a dame for her drama and charity work.
I hope I'll grow into it and I will pay back the honour that's been paid me. That's what I want to do.
Okay, good.
Also becoming a dame, Pat McGrath, arguably the most influential makeup artist in fashion. Award-winning actress Leslie Manville has been made a CBE, and singer Craig David an MBE. Following a long campaign for every surviving member of England's 1966 World Cup squad to receive an honour, Ron Flowers and Jimmy Greaves have both been made MBEs. The majority of honours have gone to people who aren't in the public eye. Tanya and Nadeem Ednan Laperouse campaigned for a change in the law on food labelling after their daughter Natasha died from an allergic reaction.
We just did what we felt at the time we had to do. It's like we were on a wave and we're still on that wave. We're just, moving forward and really trying to make a difference for all those people. We know that's what Natasha would want us to do.
Among those recognised for their work during the pandemic are health workers like nurse Kath Fitzsimmons, who came out of retirement to work at her local hospital.
I said, please, I can't be sitting at home knowing that my colleagues and patients and staff would be potentially in a very, very difficult position.
And at more than 100 years old, Anne Baker's been honoured for her fundraising for the NSPCC.
I think it's so important, really, to think of the children because they're the future. They're our future, after all. So I really was thrilled to find this honour.
Making this a particular year of celebration for Anne, who at 106 is the oldest person ever to be recognised with an honour. Lisa Mazimba, BBC News.
And that's it from me now on BBC One. Time for the news where you are. Have a very good night.